According to a top Japanese game analyst in Japan, Nintendo Switch's successor is happening this year in 2024 with a projected price point of $400. I'm going to weigh in on this because I too believe that it is time. And a lot of people have been waiting for quite a while for a Nintendo Switch Pro, more or less be a Nintendo Switch with like actual storage, better graphics, better processor, all that fun stuff, which we know the Nintendo Switch isn't capable of. In fact, it is heavily obvious what happened with Nintendo Switch when you try to play the ported version of Arkham Knight off the PS4, as well as Hogwarts Legacy. Although, to be fair, Hogwarts Legacy plays just fine on Nintendo Switch even with the downgraded visuals. Arkham Knight, not so much. So, if you guys didn't know, usually Nintendo's consoles have a life cycle of about 6 to 7 years. Nintendo Switch released March of 2017. Not the end of 2017, the beginning of it. Sometimes consoles come out in the spring, sometimes they come out in the fall. And it is due time for an update or successor to Nintendo Switch. So before I get into my thoughts and feelings about Nintendo Switch 2, let's talk about what the actual news is, and then we'll react to it and get into more detail about Nintendo's background and, you know, not fumble it this time like going from Wii to Wii U. They are at a very key point where they could actually really succeed well with jumping off Nintendo Switch into the Switch's successor. But here's what basically happens. So, Mr. Toto, who is a Japanese analyst in Japan, is well known for not necessarily being a leaker, but his predictions, his speculation, as well as like his tips in the game industry, well, I mean, they basically speak for themselves. Mr. Toto works for a company called Kantan Games, which again has a very good reputation in Japan. So a lot of this is not necessarily taken with a grain of salt. This is actually almost like a confirmation that Nintendo Switch 2 has been discovered, and a lot of people actually aren't going down to smack this rumor down either, which is very good for Nintendo fans. So more or less, this is what supposedly is happening. So again, take it with a grain of salt, but this is what you could expect. Apparently, the system will release with a brand new Mario game, which hasn't been announced yet, so that's always good. The system will have 2 price points, and as well as 2 variations. One will be a digital version, which would go for about a retail price of $399, which plus tax, that's going to be over $400. So around probably $420, $412. Then you have the physical media system, which, you know, is just like what a lot of companies have been doing, where the system releases and you can either buy the cheaper version, which would play only digital games, or you can get the one that could input carts from like Nintendo Switch, so they're saying backwards compatibility, and whatever the new style of media is for Switch 2, if it even has physical media. We don't know anything about it yet. The system is more or less just kind of like a iteration of Nintendo Switch. It's been improved just a little bit, so think of it comparable to like maybe a PS4 Pro, not necessarily like a PS5, but I could be wrong. Hence why the price point is a little bit more expensive. But we have reached basically the graphical ceiling for the Nintendo Switch, and they really can't push the hardware anymore. So this is a good thing. So don't think of this as like next leap and bounds in the gaming market. This is not going to be like a revolution, quote unquote. The system would more or less look like a Nintendo Switch. It would just be, again, an iteration of it. So they don't want to get rid of the design that everybody's very accustomed and familiar to. They don't want to get rid of the portable aspect, and they want it to be part of the Switch family. So think of it like there wasn't this huge drastic change from Game Boy to Game Boy Advance. So if anything, I mean, maybe they should just call this Nintendo Switch Advance, you know? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, because that's what more and more this sounds like to me as I'm reading this, like the hardware and how they keep saying iteration of the Switch means, you know, most likely that this system is going to look like a Switch, and it's going to have updated specs, which is what people have been asking for a while. People have wanted a Nintendo Switch Pro, and Nintendo never gave it to us. So now, a little bit of history lesson. So how does this relate for me to the Wii U? And now, I'm getting flashbacks to right when they were jumping off the successful Wii system, which did sell over 100 million units worldwide, and they announced the Wii U, or as its name was known then, the Revolution. And it seemed like gamers were going to be ready for a revolution. Iwata was talking about how revolutionary this new system was going to be. It was going to have its own gamepad. It would be kind of portable. And, you know, it was going to be able to play games that you were seeing on, like, Xbox and PS3. So it was going to be an HD Nintendo console. Everything was working out really well until they decided to name it the Wii U. Now, the problem with calling it the Wii U was the fact that it created consumer brand confusion. A lot of people in the United States were guilty, including news anchors, celebrities, late-night variety shows. All those people called the Wii U a add-on to the Wii, and this just made people kind of go like, what? So while Nintendo was better at actually marketing the system over in Japan and parts of Asia, both Europe and the United States kind of dropped the ball. And Reggie Fils-Aimé actually had to go on Jimmy Fallon's show and say, no. The Wii U is actually a new system that's coming out this holiday. And Jimmy Fallon was like, oh, really? So, I mean, when you had to correct a late-night show host about the Wii U, you kind of knew the system was in trouble. And I was an early adapter of the system. I loved it. I played a lot of games on it. We covered it almost exclusively during the time that the system was around. We looked at pretty much all the big titles that ever came out for it, and we enjoyed the system tremendously. And, you know, some other YouTubers followed suit. But the problem was the system just didn't do well. I think it sold, like, in its life cycle, under 30 or 33 million worldwide, which is nowhere near what the Wii did. Maybe it sold about as much as the Wii did, like, for a year or two, but I mean, the Wii just kind of, like, bypassed that, like, by a huge amount. So some people are getting, like, vivid flashbacks that, oh no, Nintendo might make the actual same mistake that they did with Wii U and call the Nintendo Switch, like, 2 or Nintendo Switch Pro or something that's going to create brand confusion, and then it's going to be that fiasco all over again. And like I said, as long as Nintendo Switch picks a good name for their successor, then I think that they're going to be in very good scoring position. And it's interesting that no Nintendo influencers are actually rushing to dismiss it this time, so there's a lot of weight to, at the time of recording this video, which is around 8 o'clock at night, there's a lot that could actually be true about this time. Now, usually people are very dismissive about the Nintendo Switch Pro. It's not happening, Nintendo's never doing it. And when Nintendo released the OLED, well, yeah, it was kind of like everyone was hoping, you know, it's been since 2017, we're going to get like a basically PS4 Pro or a Switch Pro, and people will be able to play games with better graphics, and they'd have more space, processing power, all that other stuff. And it turned out not to be the case. Now, while the Switch OLED did have a little bit more space, I believe it comes with 64 gigabytes like actually built in, where the regular Switch, the OG, only had about 26 or 30 gigabyte, 32 gigs, which goes by real fast, by the way, considering save files take up a lot of data, believe it or not. If you don't believe me, go check your Nintendo Switch and look at some of those save files. Some Lego games, 1 gigabyte. And yeah, if you don't have that cloud, wow, that really ends up hurting hurting your system specs, I'll tell you what. Although, you know, OLED actually fixed that. So, yeah, like I'm saying, Game Industry Buzz, they're the ones who broke this, and they have a lot of credibility. This is a very well-renowned company, and they're talking about how, like, the system probably would be, like, $400, which, I mean, when you add inflation, that makes sense. Nintendo always tries to make game consoles that are very, we'll say, family affordable, because that's their stick. They want to be that gaming console that everyone and their mom can afford. And with that $400 price point, yeah, it's more than Nintendo Switch and Switch OLED, but if it really is a high-def or kind of like PS4 Pro type system, I mean, that would be good. The idea of games being about $70, again, inflation's bad. I don't know, I don't want to get into the whole political thing, but just like the 90s, games were very expensive. People forget that, but I remember paying like almost $90 for Street Fighter 2 Turbo, or rather, I got it as a birthday present. So, and I saw the price tag and I was like, whoa, wait a second. That explains why I only get 2 games at Christmas sometimes. One from my parents, one from Santa. So, you know, games were expensive. It wasn't until the N64 time that Player's Choice actually was a thing, which basically slashed the price of most really popular N64 games that were done by Nintendo by 33%, which gave you around a $40, $39.99, very affordable price point for both N64 and GameCube games. And I think the Player's Choice existed for the Wii as well, when Nintendo could have actually increased the price of the games, but they kept them pretty affordable as well. There are actually some Nintendo Switch games right now that a lot of people forget that are around $70 to $80, which is true. I believe Tears of the Kingdom was around an $80 game, if I'm remembering correctly. And people kind of freaked out when that happened. So there's also rumors going around that there are dev kits in circulation for this new Nintendo system. So that would make sense. I mean, you have to have the, dev kits circling around in order for people to make games for. But I mean, I would see, just like with the Wii U, you're going to get probably a lot of ports from the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series S or Series X. Because that's exactly what happened with the Wii U. We got a lot of games that came out a year prior, and they released on Nintendo Wii U, the launch window for the Wii U. You had Batman Armored Edition, you had Ninja Gaiden 3, which was both Armored Edition and Ninja Gaiden, like, Razor Edition or whatever it was called. That Ninja Gaiden 3 was really good on the Wii U. It was a great game, because they took all the problems that Ninja Gaiden 3 had, and they fixed them, and they also implemented features that fans loved about the series. The Dynasty Warriors game was great. Most of the launch titles, I think it was like 24 launch titles, they were all good. And the games that came out for the Wii U over its first year or two were actually excellent. You couldn't get them anywhere else, and the Wii U was just a great system. I love that system, and it still works today. Like, I use it off and on sometimes. I don't know about you guys and gals, but I'm pretty excited about the idea of the Nintendo Switch 2. And if this analyst is correct, then, the time is right. Like, it is harvest time. Anyway, so if you guys have missed my long-winded, basically, explanation, let's do a little recap of what's going on. So, Japanese game analysts in Japan basically kind of leaked or spoiled that Nintendo Switch 2 is most likely coming out this year. The system will be an iteration of the Nintendo Switch. Think of it like Nintendo Switch Pro. You're going to have better graphics, better processing power, better memory, better space. It'll be able to probably play games that are comparable to maybe launch window, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, but more or less like a, PS4 Pro in a sense. I'm not expecting Nintendo to go all out, even though this is a completely different board than was around for Wii, Wii U, things like that. Maybe we could see like a GameCube situation where it is competing graphically based on the price point, which is rumored between $400 to $450, and games being around $70. So, I mean, that kind of stuff makes me think, all right, maybe this could be a graphical powerhouse, but I don't think so, because Nintendo is always trying to be that gaming system that is for everyone, and most importantly, affordable. They don't necessarily like to compete with the big dogs, like the big two. Iwata never liked to do that, but of course Iwata's been gone for some time, and Nintendo Switch was basically his legacy. Like, that was the system that he really wanted to combine elements of Nintendo's portable market and Nintendo's console and fuse it into one. And, it was a very successful venture. So I don't see Nintendo foregoing that type of formula right now. So again, iteration of the Switch. People are very accustomed and familiar to how that system operates. And I don't think that, you want to shake it up too much. But again, I think that it's happening. A lot of people think it's happening. And now we want to hear from you guys and gals. Do you think that Nintendo is actually going to announce and release the Nintendo Switch 2 this year? Or do you believe it's another Nintendo Switch Pro incident where it's just rumors and speculation, and Nintendo is just going to let the Nintendo Switch just kind of remain, outsell the PS2, and then, maybe several years from now we'll get a successor to the system? I like to believe, based on the timing, where we are, and how long the Switch has been out, Nintendo console life cycles, that it is prime time for the successor to Nintendo's most popular gaming console in history. So anyway, guys and gals, thank you so much for watching another topic video. This one got a little long, but it was a lot of fun to talk about it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So I will be keeping you guys updated on any information about Nintendo Switch 2, when they do a Nintendo Direct, any of that stuff. I will be back to update, so make sure you guys subscribe for more video game topic videos, news releases, and of course, live streams later tonight. We'll be continuing more of Arkham Origins, doing some DLC for Azrael, like the actual campaign this time, and then struggling with the Riddler trophies on Nintendo Switch for Arkham Knight, because that game is, well, that's something else on Nintendo Switch. Alright, guys and gals, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and until we meet again, gamers, God bless, happy gaming. Be seeing ya.